Truth, Money, and Freedom podcast.
Welcome to another edition of Truth, Money, and Freedom. Guys, I'd like to cover this real quick. This won't be a long podcast, but it needs to be covered. Listen to this, gang. This is a story direct from Zero Hedge, supported by a video. We all knew about Epstein, admits Cindy McCain, who did nothing about it. Senator John McCain's widow said everyone knew about Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring, but were afraid to do anything about it. Epstein was hiding in plain sight, said McCain. Let me enlarge this real quick so you guys can see this. Epstein was hiding in plain sight, said McCain, during an appearance at the State of the World 2020 conference in Florida, according to the Washington Examiner. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him. For whatever reason, she said. Okay, we're gonna put this all together here in a second. It goes on like this, and she talks about a high school, her daughter's high school friend that ended up being one of Epstein's girls or whatever. She goes on to say Epstein, she hopes he's in hell. The video is right down here, gang, in the link down below. Let's concentrate on her words real quick. We all knew about Epstein. Okay, who is we? All knew about Epstein. And what she's talking about, I'm sure, is the political class, the judges, the celebrities, all knew about Epstein. Okay? She says everyone knew about Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring. And by the way, it wasn't just his. He was working for the Mossad and the CIA. So let's not kid ourselves here. It wasn't Jeffrey Epstein's. He was a player, but he was not the capstone of this pyramid of corruption. But they were afraid to do anything about it. For whatever reason, she said, for whatever reason. I'll give you the 4 reasons, since she's not extrapolating on this point. She's not actually allowing us to understand her point of view. For whatever reason, everyone knew about Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring of children, but were afraid to do anything about it. There's 4 possible reasons here. I'm forced to speculate because Cindy McCain doesn't want to go forward with all this stuff. So, number 1, the politicians, judges, business moguls were all partaking in the product of this sex trafficking ring with children. That's number 1. Number 2 is that they were actually being paid to cover it up. Number 3 is that they're controlled by the same people that controlled Epstein, which is the CIA and Mossad. And number 4 was threat of death. Those are the 4 possible reasons why they were afraid of doing anything about it. This is a disturbing indictment of not only politicians, governments around the world, especially the West. I'm sure this happens in the East too. But I want to talk about this on a different level, and that's on a religious level or a moral level. And that is, are governments worth keeping if they know about this stuff and are afraid to do anything about it? Think about that, gang. Let that sink in. The government knew about this, but they were afraid to do anything. Is the government worth keeping anymore? Is it worth supporting? Is it worth going out and voting for these individuals if they knew about it? Remember now, everyone knew about Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring. Once again, not his. He's just a part of it, working for the Mossad and the CIA. But the people who knew about this were afraid to do anything about it. Well, I mean, I've only got a few words to say about this at this point. This is a short video. May God forgive us and protect us for protecting, voting for, rooting for politicians that were part of the everyone who knew about this. And the fact that they were afraid to do anything about it means they're compromised. In one way or another, they're compromised. So they knew about this heinous, just heinous isn't a good enough word, this demonic activity of using kids in such a fashion, using kids for anything like this. They knew about it. Everyone knew about it, but they were afraid to do anything about it. We need to think very carefully about this as we move into 2020 elections. Is it worth voting for? Is it worth paying taxes anymore? Should we pay our taxes if they're going to not do anything about horrible things happening to children? Well, all I can say at this point is may God forgive us and protect us for actually voting for these monsters in office who knew about these things and were afraid to do anything because they're compromised. That's all I have for now, gang. Have a good evening, and may God bless each and every one of you.